Still on GBV, several gender-based violence-related cases in the Western Cape are being thrown out of court due to missing dockets. Now, according to Police Oversight and Community Safety MEC in the province, Reagen Allen, this led to 198 court cases being withdrawn. Both at West, Oudtshoorn, Langeletu, Kuils River and Knysna among the police stations where court dockets are said to disappear in the province. Why is this happening? Well, to discuss this further, we're joined by the MEC this morning. MEC, good morning and thank you very much for your time. Honestly, this missing dockets issue is very concerning, and particularly that number, 198, not one or two. It's really concerning. What has been the reason furnished by SAPS and even court officials?
Thank you so much for picking up this particular matter, because in terms of the initiative from the Western Cape government to have these court watching brief units in place to monitor court cases so that we are able to see how we are able to meaningfully play a role so that court cases are then brought back onto the court roll. It is upsetting when 85 of the dockets of the 198 were not at court on a particular day when it was supposed to be there, and as a result of that, the matter was then struck off the court roll. There's rape cases, there's GBV cases. In some of the instances, there's also murder cases. But the reality is here in the Western Cape that our policing needs and priorities report have indicated that our detectives are sitting with a caseload of 250 dockets per detective, which is humanly impossible to manage and to attend to. So it is concerning, and our engagement with the South African Police Service in terms of our oversight mandate, which is a legislated process where we hold SAPS accountable, but we also say we want to strengthen their hand by raising these matters, by monitoring these court cases. And this particular initiative is also now being discussed by other provincial governments, where they are also wanting to kickstart such an initiative, because we know for the criminal justice system to work, for victims to feel a sense that the system works, we cannot have that cases are struck off the court roll because the docket is not present, or because a witness wasn't properly subpoenaed and the witness wasn't picked up in order to be at court, or even if there is DNA forensic analysis that is not present at court. So we want to avoid secondary victimization, because our women, our females are struggling when they have been raped, assaulted, and then the matter gets struck off the court roll. So then justice is not served.
No, honestly, it is secondary victimization, because for you to be brave enough to actually go to the police station, you open the case, and then eventually you go to court. You get to court and the matter is struck off because they cannot locate your docket. Honestly, that is heartbreaking and unacceptable. But talk to me about the role of the court watching brief unit. I mean, you've touched on it a bit. I really want to delve deeper, because this is a great initiative to actually locate or just assess how far or where in the process are some of these cases.
Thank you so much. This initiative has been in existence here in the Western Cape since 2014. So we have trained advocates that form part of the court watching brief unit, and they monitor cases right across our province, from the city of Cape Town to our rural areas. And once they track a particular case, they are then able to then compile a report that we submit to the South African Police Service, so that those cases can be re-looked at and then re-rolled onto the court case, so that we are able to see that justice is served. When cases are withdrawn due to the dockets not being at court, when cases are withdrawn due to the investigation being incomplete, it speaks to the narrative that we've seen, that our detectives are overburdened, that our detectives are overworked and unable to actually meaningfully play their particular role to bring justice, because SAPS, the NPA, together with the courts, all have a role in terms of the criminal justice system. So it is an initiative that we are very proud of. It's an initiative where we've seen great successes, but also to highlight in that particular cases that we then urge the South African Police Service to re-roll these cases. And on a quarterly basis, every 3 months, we will then present our court watching brief report to the South African Police Service, and that engagement is then in the spirit of wanting to help SAPS, wanting to bolster SAPS in order to help the victims and the most vulnerable here in our communities.
Certainly commendable. But talk to me briefly now about the top 5 police stations where dockets go missing. Among those we had there would be your Gnais now. What exactly have you found are the issues?
We have seen of the top 5 police stations that were counted, it was almost 50%, which is 41% of the cases of the 85, which was withdrawn because the docket was not at court. An area like Beaufort West, Oudtshoorn, which is in our rural areas, and I've been very clear on Fundo that our rural areas are underserved. They are under-resourced, and we know that we need to do more in terms of the resourcing and the manpower or people power within that particular area. But also the top 5 stations with incomplete investigations, which are counted also to 42, and it's again Oudtshoorn and Laingsburg as the top 2. So it's our rural areas that are being affected the most. And I am going to visit these stations again and stand with those SAPS members in order for them to be capacitated, because police management should be able to play a meaningful role. But the reality is, Nomfundo, budget is being received from Pretoria, which is 1,500 kilometers away from the Western Cape, and choices are being made there, and the resourcing, chronic under-resourcing here feeds to this particular dilemma. Hence, this particular initiative was taken up.
But most certainly very, very commendable, I must repeat again. Thank you very much, MEC, for your time.